you so much. There is a reason one person is clapping harder than usual, and I will address it at the end of this episode. Welcome to Build Week and Watch, a show today that's going to be as equal in length and action as the upcoming Avengers movie, all 182 minutes. That's right, we're going to sit here and we're going to discuss the beach bum for double the length of that actual movie. Joining me today, we have senior reporter for HuffPost Leigh Blickley, editor-in-chief. Oh, we're doing individual applause. So nice. Wow. Why weren't you guys this lively the whole time?
I'm number one.
Editor-in-chief of TV Guide, Chris Rosen.
Hi.
And senior writer for Yahoo Entertainment, Ethan Alter.
That was a good one. That was good.
Wow. Okay, today we're going to be talking Tim Burton's dreary reimagining of Disney's Dumbo, Matthew McConaughey's impression of a beach bum, Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson teaming up in Netflix's The Highwaymen, the TV adaptation of Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows, Bill Hader's return as the thespian hitman Barry, and the end of Julia Louis-Dreyfus's incredible run as on Veep. Okay, guys, but first things first, we're kicking things off with this piece of crap.
You have something very rare. You have wonder. You have mystique. You have magic. Come with me. Together, we can soar on that elephant's wings.
Okay, first things first, Tim Burton. Ugh, boy, what happened? He used to make really fun movies. There used to be great acting in his movies. There used to be incredible set design, computer graphics, animation, all these things. And it seemed to go downhill, starting maybe with Planet of the Apes, even though there were a few hits in between there. But this Dumbo is just a dreary mess. It is impossible. I wanted to leave about 15 minutes in. I just knew what it was going to be, and it is so boring. And that's not to say that I was walking in and expecting like a Lars von Trier movie or something. I wanted a fun, happy kids Disney movie with great animation and a great elephant. And you don't get any of that. The story makes no sense. You feel like you're dropped into the middle of a story that they didn't write a beginning to it. And then all of a sudden this elephant shows up and it looks bad. And all the elephant scenes where the elephant flies look bad. And then when it's flying, you're like, why aren't I excited? It's like, oh, because you didn't write a script that gave me stakes. And then the guy who announces wrestling or boxing shows up twice. He goes, let's get ready to Dumbo. And you're like, what?
Dumbo.
Yeah, you hated it as much as I did, right?
Yeah, and usually this would be like my type of movie. As Chris knows,
Yeah, I was
like,
surprised.
This is my thing. Like I would be down for it. I always like Tim Burton. I like a good, Disney flick. Oh my God, this is painful. You said exactly all my thoughts, like the first 15
Sorry,
minutes.
I should have gone to you first.
I mean, he stole everything I wanted to say.
My show.
For now.
It's just like too many people in a movie that's supposed to be about an animal. That's how I felt. Like the animals don't talk in this version, of course, and
They should have.
yeah, I would have been more excited. Like just make it a kids movie at this point.
I found moments in this movie where there's a scene where Michael Keaton has the kicker of the scene. His line is supposed to end the scene. And it's unintelligible for some reason. Like they just didn't do another take or put the take in that made sense. He's like, Danny DeVito's like, please don't fire all the people that work for me. He goes, well, you know what? Sometimes you gotta. And I was in the theater and I turned to the person next to me. I go, did you just hear what he said? He goes, I have no idea what he just said. I was like, they really did not care when they made this movie. You've seen Dumbo, right?
I did see Dumbo. Yeah. No, what I thought was interesting to your point about the talking animals. Like I thought it was interesting having just rewatched the original one. That one, it's all animals all the time. There's really few humans in it, and I think part of that was the remake was done to the concession of circuses are not as popular now, and the mistreatment of animals is a bigger thing. So this basically seems like a traveling vaudeville circus with only one animal, which is the poor sick elephant. So if I trying to improve it, I think they've actually made it worse in a lot of ways because that elephant is still pretty poorly treated in the context, and seeing all these the people in doesn't actually help at all. I think they would have been wiser to sort of stick more to the script of the original in some ways, except for the crows. I'm glad they got rid of the crows.
I think the original movie is like an hour long. They should have kept this one an hour long.
I also found, did you find that in the first minutes of the movie when we open on that train traveling over the map, were you like, how can you open on a montage of a traveling train? We have no idea who these people are, what this train is. Like, where is the beginning of this movie?
To be fair, that is the cartoon, how the cartoon begins too. So yeah, no, that does that only there.
Ricky hasn't seen Dumbo in a while.
haven't seen it since I was a kid because I'm an adult.
Well, even as a kid, like, come on, Dumbo was your least favorite Disney movie. Like, it's not like I was like, Mom, I want to watch Dumbo again.
Yeah, that is true. I was always like, I liked Bambi, even though Bambi made me cry. But Dumbo, I never
loved
really
Bambi,
got into.
though, even though it's terribly depressing as well.
Yeah, Bambi and Old Yeller because I was a really sad kid. I just wanted to see the animals die and have a good cry
Clearly
with my
like
family.
Homeward Bound as well, then.
But then, at the same time, you get into this incredible world when they move Danny DeVito and his circus to the sort of larger Coney Island circus that Michael Keaton runs, and that doesn't even look that ravishing. You expect this incredible production design and these specific Burton-esque details, and you really don't even get a good impression of that. You just get kind of a very lazy. It doesn't even feel like Tim Burton. Did it feel like Tim Burton to you at all?
I mean, it felt like a lot of his late period movies, it feels like the flourishes are there, but not the soul, nothing behind them. It's like he was hired to say, do that Tim Burton thing. He was like, all right, I'll do that Tim Burton thing. Let's put a funny hat on this guy. Let's do the hair this way. And that's it. The actual, like, you go back and watch, as I just go back to see Batman Returns again, and the production design is so much more lived in. The world is so much more, breathes so much more. And I think green screen hasn't helped him either. I think he's taken a lot of shortcuts.
I didn't see it, but that's what I was going to say. Just watching the trailer is it looks awful, and it looks, it's all the green. He just has fallen into the uncanny valley of his own design.
Did it also feel like to you there wasn't a studio note he wasn't willing to take with this movie? It's so all over the place, and there are flourishes that have no reason to be within this world, and I use the boxing announcer more than anything, where it felt like some dumb executive was like, what have we got? Yeah, what have we got? A boxing announcer, and I said, let's get ready to Dumbo, and they were like, got it, yes, going in twice.
Doesn't seem like Tim Burton would be like, yeah, that's a great idea. Like,
Yeah,
it just
that's what I
doesn't
mean.
feel like him.
Like he was just going to meetings and was like, yeah, sure, if that's what you want to do, guys. All right, get the guy in the thing, let's pay him.
Paycheck, it seemed like, and he was happy with that. What's going on with Tim Burton? Can we talk about that? Like, his movies haven't been very good lately.
I mean, I kind of think that he had so much success and was able to do so much of his own personal stuff for, like, his first 10 movies, if you go, it's like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Batman, everyone, Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, all these really personal, like, kind of really well-done movies that I think hold up. Beetlejuice.
He probably had to fight his ass off
and,
to
like,
keep the way that he wanted them.
Really have, like, a piece of him in them, and now it's like, what else is he gonna say? I mean, how much does somebody have to say, right? Like, as a director, you still gonna come, if you're just repeating yourself, I guess he could do that. So now he's just like, yeah, throw a green screen up. We'll throw Dumbo in there. Cool.
Make the day and get some money and get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's already got, like, a decade worth of, like, very personal, incredible films that will stand the test of time. Now he's just in paycheck mode.
Yeah. And paycheck mode means not having to battle people every day, because even when you're a director who is very sought after and people like, you still have to fight people to do things that are personal because it's personal to you. Not everybody's going to get it, even the people that are supplying the money for the movie.
I will say the one positive note I will give Michael Keaton at least is I feel like he is trying to play at being a version of Walt Disney, and that there is an element of that movie that's about critiquing how Disney and corporations in general are taking over entertainment, and that's sort of what that passage of the movie represents. And I think Burton is even to a little bit tiptoeing up to his own complicity in it. There's that one shot of all the Dumbo dolls on display, and it's sort of like saying, like, yep, you can go out and buy these in stores right now, kids. So I think if he were being more honest, he would go even further and say, just come on screen, be the ringmaster himself and say, sorry, I sold out, everyone. But that's what it feels like he's talking with there, and especially Michael.
Slightly, or he's just selling the Dumbo dolls that are going to be in stores right now. Okay, let's move on. After the disastrous hilarity that was Ethan's favorite movie of the year so far, Serenity,
Oh, yes.
back in January, Matthew McConaughey is back on the big screen. This time he's teamed up with Harmony Korine for a drug-infused roll through Miami and the Florida Keys. Let's look at the trailer.
Wish me luck. I'm off to write the next great American novel. Let me have a gangbang when I get back. I will invite your mother.
Thank you, Mr. Moondog.
I'm trying to uncover my connection with the world.
Just follow me, my friend. Let's go, man.
Is he a good pilot?
Mom, man, you got glaucoma in both his eyes.
It's perfect.
I feel like since McConaughey had his reconnaissance, right, we've been sort of waiting for another movie that would live up to that sort of period of time where he had Dallas Buyers Club, Wolf of Wall Street, and like a couple other things that he had weird cameos in, and we were fascinated by. But then he kind of dove into a bunch of movies that gold that didn't really go anywhere. Beach Bum kind of feels like what we had been hoping for. It's not a perfect movie. It's maybe even a little too long at 1 hour and 30 minutes, but it is complete insanity. Chris and I saw it last night, and we were rolling laughing.
Yeah, it's hilarious. What I said to you before is that it's like Harmony Korine made an Adam Sandler movie with Matthew McConaughey playing himself. That's basically what it is. It's like
the plot makes sense, but also is only holes. Like,
yeah, and you wouldn't even get what the plot is from watching the trailer, and it actually has a very like basic 90s comedy plot where it's almost like a reverse Brewster's Millions or like a, like kind of like a Big Daddy-esque. I don't know. It's just so.
How to write the big book to get your inheritance.
Billy Madison, maybe, right? Like it's just like all these. That's basically the plot, and then you have like Matthew McConaughey just baked out of his mind, walking from scene to scene, and it's like here's Martin Lawrence for 10 minutes, and he's hilarious, and here is Zac Efron for 10 minutes, and he is hilarious.
Look,
and
Martin Lawrence has a coked out parrot on a dolphin boat that he feeds the parrot cocaine, and then he like hunts. Then he goes dolphin watching, and there are only sharks out there, but he thinks they're dolphins. And then you have Zac Efron in Jenko jeans and wheelie shoes singing Creed as loud as he can. It's really great. It's really great.
You left out the best part, that Martin Lawrence's name is Captain Whack. Because so like it's Captain Whack, and that could have been the name of the movie that Captain Whack starred in 1999. Like,
and then you have Isla Fisher, who looks incredible in the movie and is so fun to watch.
The most straightforward actor in the whole thing is Snoop Dogg. Not even kidding. He's like the most straight. He is not doing any kind of gimmick. He's just like, hey, he's like actually the voice of reason for most of it.
Jimmy Buffett too.
And Jimmy Buffett.
It's also hilarious to watch Snoop Dogg actually have to like commit to certain scenes, but still just committing in a Snoop Dogg way, like, Moondog, I'm sorry, I've been fucking your wife. I hope that's okay with you. And that's it. And then that's it. It's like,
you guys
so
are
great.
spoiled. Anybody else feel very spoiled? I haven't
No, I mean that happens in like the
this
first
movie.
5 minutes.
Yeah,
You're not.
Jimmy Buffett. I mean,
Well, he's in
Jimmy
one of the
Buffett.
trailers. Yeah, I know it's awesome. I actually loved it so much. I mean, you could look at it as like the serious read, like we were saying, it's that it is a little bit of like a critique of white privilege. It is almost sometimes a critique of Harmony Korine, or it's very introspective, I think, on his own personal life and like how he could do a lot of things that get him in trouble and still succeed. Like that's a big theme of the movie, where it's just like Moondog, who's Matthew McConaughey's character, just continually fucks up the whole movie, makes huge mistakes, with severe consequences, and then is either celebrated or praised for those actions.
Well, it's also about a burnout as well. It's
Yeah.
also about someone who started out as a poet, who was beloved as a poet, and he was kind of an enfant terrible, and then eventually just became sort of terrible and couldn't write poetry anymore and became a hedonist. And everyone is waiting for the next great American book, but he can't do it because he's too busy getting fucked up. And that is, in a lot of ways, the story of Harmony Korine sometimes. And so it's loosely there. I know you had a take on the film as well.
Yeah, no, I thought this was interesting. Tell me if I'm crazy, but I thought there's a really interesting through line there involving gender fluidity, because what we see with Moondog from the beginning.
You're talking about the dress.
Yeah, no, because like when you think about him, like he looks like a sexual creature, but he's not. For a lot of it, he's sort of asexual, even though he's surrounded by beautiful women and men and everything. He doesn't display much interest in them except for 2 key scenes, but he approaches them in a different way. Korine approaches them in a different way, and then by the end of the film, we see him get progressively more feminine until by the end he's wearing a dress and on stage accepting an award saying, this is just how I like to dress now. And there's this, and you can tracks, if you watch that movie throughout, there's this idea of Moondog coming in, going from one, switching genders in a sense, like that's and finding that fluidity.
Ethan, I love
It's
you.
in there.
This is not the Matrix trilogy.
It should be.
This is we were talking about the dress switch at the end, and it is basically a Sandler kind of thing where he has to become a woman to hide from the cops. So he gets a dress thrown on him, and then for the rest of the movie, the cops never find him, even though he's winning awards and is super famous. Like it's a total
It's
joke.
but it's also the thematically it does also work, because if you watch the way the relationship functions with Isla Fisher, and also that whole interlude with Zac Efron, where they hang out with a bevy of drag queens for a while there, his own relationship. I'm getting serious about this now, but there is the whole relationship with his daughter as well, that he needs. He's not the dad he can be to his daughter until he embraces more of his feminine side, and that's when they find a relationship. It's
Damn,
like,
Ethan, that's really good.
That's
Wow.
deep
it's
stuff.
layered
I
throughout.
mean, that's why this is a good movie, I think, right? Because there are like a lot of different reads you could have with it.
I like that you guys are on board with this because it helps the show. I'm not on board with this. I'm not on board. I just think that it's one of the few times I will say, I think you're reading too much into it, even though I hate to be the person to say that. Yeah.
Or maybe you're reading too little.
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe. What about? Did you?
No, I mean, I actually I didn't see that at all. But I mean, a lot of the stuff you're saying, like I read it as like the fact that it's like, you know, again, like I said, like he's failing forward, and like what does that say that like he is able to just make so many mistakes with like and have no consequences, and like what does that say about like the way society embraces certain people like him, like who look like Matthew McConaughey, and if the shoe was on the other foot or he looked different, they would not maybe, right? So I mean, I think that's kind of what I took from it, but I do not dislike your theory. But that's why I like the movie, because I think there is a lot more to it. That's why it's like Harmony Korine and Adam Sandler. Not to knock Adam Sandler movies. I like those early Adam Sandler movies when I was younger, but like there's not a lot going on there. And taking that formula and like making it an gritty indie movie
loosening the formula
is
even
just
more.
yeah,
right?
it's like really kind of fascinating. I mean, you would never get. I don't know what I expected going into it. And I didn't read a lot about it before I saw it, but I had seen the trailers. It would just totally blew me away that it was nothing like what I had expected. Like that, it was just like it's super funny, but it does have like it's a very mainstream comedy. It could have been a very mainstream comedy, right? Like there is a world where this is like you know, an Apatow release that comes out in July and makes like, you know, $50 million or something.
It'd be 2 hours longer to
It would be like 2.5 hours, and Paul Rudd would probably be in it. But, you know, now it's 90 minutes and it's great. The soundtrack's awesome. I must have spent all the money on the soundtrack. It's like, you know, Dazed and Confused soundtrack mixed with like, you know, whatever else. I mean, like, he's hilarious. It's definitely the best Matthew McConaughey has been probably since Magic Mike, I would say.
Serenity.
Oh, I didn't see Serenity. Serenity accepted.
Need to see Serenity.
Maybe
I'm
Magic
spoiled
Mike.
by Serenity.
I already know how it ends too.
Ricky
should
spoiled
show- I wish we
Serenity.
spoiled
Spoil it
We
again.
should've
Do you guys
had
want to
that
know
clip.
how Serenity ends? No, it doesn't matter. Nobody remembers
Well, they
it
just
exists.
spoiled the beach bum too, so like I don't know.
No, we didn't spoil the beach bum.
Moral to the story is go see The Beach Bum
Yeah.
in theaters. It's really silly, it's really weird, and it's only an hour and a half long, and there's nothing else like it in the movie theater.
And shockingly, in 1,000 theaters this weekend, so you will actually be able to see it.
You'll probably be seeing it on your own. Okay, let's move on. It's Friday, folks, and that means Netflix has released new content into its dumping ground. And this time, it's for old people. Out this weekend is The Highwaymen, directed by John Lee Hancock and starring Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson, and it's basically a very well-funded History Channel movie. Take a look.
Police are not yet releasing details, but have stated that Bonnie and Clyde may have struck again.
Forgive me, Father, for I have seen
This is a highly coordinated operation.
so much pain and suffering.
Roadblocks, air surveillance. Your time's past, cowboy.
What the hell is the world coming to?
Used to be you had to have talent to get published. Now all you gotta do is shoot people.
See the devil dressed in
What the hell's the world coming to?
Pretty good.
This reminds me of Triple Frontier in a way where
God, no.
somebody gave a pretty good director a lot of money, but said, be as safe as possible while making it. It's like you can see the money in every shot. It feels extremely polished, but it also feels really bland. I found it to be extremely bland. You loved it.
I didn't love it. I don't know if I loved
Highway
it, but
Station.
I did really
I
like
didn't
it.
mind.
I think it's like a TNT dad movie, you know?
Yeah.
Like I would fall asleep.
But very well funded.
Very well funded, very well made. I mean, Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson are, I think, great in it. And it's like this is the kind of stuff Kevin Costner should definitely be doing. I feel like this is the kind of role that he would have done in 1997.
It is, so he just did that Taylor
Yeah,
show.
like the Yellowstone, I think
Yeah.
it was. It's like for Paramount Network. But I don't know, I thought it was really good. I thought it's like, you know, making a movie in 2019 about the cops who find and kill Bonnie and Clyde is definitely a fraught premise.
Yeah.
And I was expecting it to be really problematic, and I didn't think it was that problematic for some reason. I thought it was way more, it was not as much rah-rah killing the Bonnie and Clyde characters as I think, you know, I would have feared, because it is that whole sequence is handled like pretty graphically and very seriously, or not like, you know, like very sadly. I mean, like nobody wants to seemingly be doing it. It's not like I'm so glad we're murdering these two people. And one of the things the movie does is really play up the youth of Bonnie and Clyde, which I think is different from even like the original movie. Maybe I know Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway were young when it was made, but having watched it as a kid, I was like, wow, they feel so old. Yeah. But now you really get like watching this movie, it's like, oh, they're kids, and just watching them get brutally murdered is kind of crazy. But the movie, you saw in the trailer there, they try to say a lot of things about like how we live now and like, oh, these people are getting famous because they're like killing people. And it's like, it's a little more nuanced than that. And then it's just a stupid dad movie where it's just like, hey, these guys. Like, it's like the type of movie where I was like, wow, that sounds like Thomas Newman's score. And then it was Thomas Newman. It's like, oh, cool. It's like, I don't know. I just was like, you could put this on a Saturday afternoon and like take a nap and wake up. You sleep for 20 minutes. Doesn't matter. You got it.
To me, they say, like, people say all the time now, like, oh, they don't make movies like that anymore, or like, they don't put movies like that in the theater anymore. And as soon as I started watching this movie, my thought was, there's a reason. Like, we have seen this, and this is kind of boring to see. Like, yes, it's well made. Yes, it's got a great cast, but at the same time, like, I have seen this version of this movie. There's no edge and there's no angle to it that makes it relevant now. I mean, it seems like you maybe found one.
I mean, I thought some of the relevance was just like, it was interesting to me thinking of like how they kind of dig into this very briefly, but like how they're like the public really embraced Bonnie and Clyde, even though they were killing cops and like robbing banks and all these things that are against the law. The public really love Bonnie and Clyde, and they kind of like make the point that like in that time and in the Depression era or whatever, whatever. With people who are flashy and like saying like screw the man and screw the elites are like going to be embraced by the mass populace, and it kind of. Whether or not it tried to be like, I don't think this movie, especially with the cast and the creatives, is going to be super like anti-Trump. But I did feel like you looked at like Bonnie and Clyde as similar to like, here is how Trump really played into that aspect of like economic anxiety and all that bullshit. And now, Bonnie and Clyde kind of did the same thing. And that's why they were so beloved, even if they were wrong. So I think the movie does try to grapple with some of that stuff. It's not very deep, and it certainly surfaced.
Wait a minute.
Good take, though. I was like, Chris, very good take.
This is a stage of
I watched it for like a half hour and was like,
we got to bring our brands here on the last day.
Two are like really killing it. Me and you were just like, well, we don't like it.
Dumbo sucked.
Well, Dumbo, yeah.
Hot take stage. Wait, so are you saying that the Highwaymen characters, Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson's characters, are James Comey and Robert Mueller?
I mean, they're definitely like of the boomers. They're definitely boomers who are like
inconsequential.
Yes. No, I mean, I definitely think they're like the boomers who are like, we're Generation X, who are just like, the world sucks, right? Everybody's crazy, and like we're the only ones left who know how to like make it better. Even though that's not true either, but like that's kind of
law.
Like they're the law, or they're just like we're just like the people who know how it should be, and like on either side are people who are just like way out of bounds. Because if you look in the movie, like the Highwaymen are like Texas Rangers who they resurrected to catch Bonnie and Clyde. The cops and the FBI are played poorly, right? Like they're like looked at as like not the heroes, and neither are like Bonnie and Clyde. So these guys are directly in the middle of both ends of the political spectrum, let's say. So like that's kind of like what I think it's going for, and knowing like Kevin Costner's, or at least what I imagine Kevin Costner's politics are, I'm sure he's like more of a libertarian than like a Republican or a Democrat. I feel like that's where this movie is landing, but like it doesn't go very deep, and it is just a dad movie, but I do think that's like kind of like stuff I saw in it.
I'm sold.
Wow,
you've seen some of it. You watched 30 minutes of it.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Matthew McConaughey as Kevin Costner, and I would
like
as the beach bum.
Yes,
Matthew McConaughey as Kevin Costner
with
playing
Woody
the
Harrelson playing cops.
Multiple layers.
Exactly.
In a dress, though.
In a dress. I would have been
fluidity
so
happening. I'm coming around though. While you guys are talking,
good, right?
About
yeah,
it,
it's
coming
good.
around.
Ethan is smart.
Stage of takes today. Okay, coming up. Up next, we have executive produced by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clement, and based on their film of the same name, it's called What We Do in the Shadows. It's a new mockumentary show. It follows the lives of 3 vampires who have lived together in Staten Island for hundreds of years. It's on FX or FXX. I don't know. Check it out.
The problems with living with other vampires are the vampires I have chosen to stay with.
I wanted to talk about general hygiene in the cell. Last night, there were all these people down there, half drunk.
Well, where did they find the alcohol?
No, they were half drunk. They'd been half drunk.
If you've got something to say, then damn well say it.
It's not hygienic!
Nandor is like a big turkey.
Cannot pay with that.
I'm so sorry. Sir, you can't be throwing ancient coins at me.
Guillermo,
the credit
stab this man.
On a week where Veep and Barry weren't returning and The Beach Bum wasn't also coming out, I would probably be more excited for this show. I watched the first couple episodes. It's really funny. I'm a big fan of the movie, specifically the werewolf sequence in the movie. I know they're coming out with their own werewolf movie or show as well soon, so I don't know how much that group is going to Oh, they are in the first episode, I believe. The werewolves take part in the first episode. It's pretty funny. It didn't blow me away. Ethan, I know you've seen it.
It was fun. I'm sort of the same way. I mean, I think the movie. I don't know that I have an incentive to keep watching past the pilot. I thought it was funny enough, but the movie sort of did everything that I wanted this sort of story to do. So I don't know if I need to see any more of it. But I did like seeing Beanie Feldstein pop up too. That was fun. She has a fun part in the pilot.
I feel like there was enough jokes. Like it should have, one of the things that keeps me going back to Veep, which we'll talk about, is not just that it's a great show, great actors, but it is and the same thing with like Kimmy Schmidt. It's a receptacle of jokes. It's just non-stop jokes, line per line. And this didn't really feel like that. Maybe it was just because it was the pilot and they had a lot that they had to set up, but they didn't have that much to set up. Yeah.
And also just the mockumentary format at this point is it's so played out at this point. So, and the movie was great because it was still in that trend when that was happening. It still felt kind of fresh, and doing the supernatural spin on it made sense. But at this point, it's like, okay, we're doing this again. It's hard to make it feel.
Vampires are so in the past by this point. Let's move on. That's my hot take, everybody. I'm done.
Hot take. Hot take.
I'm sold.
Should we just move on to the next one?
Yeah,
It doesn't seem like we give a shit about this guy, unfortunately. Okay, back this Sunday for its second season is the dark comedy led by Bill Hader, Barry. It's 30 minutes, it's funny, and has a great cast. What's there not to like? Take a look.
Not doing the show. Janice is still missing. Jean is not ready.
She could be out there right now.
Is this you and Corbin Burnson?
No, that's Ronnie Cox.
Ronnie Cox.
Mr. Cousineau, you could use this class as therapy.
Thank you. Next. When you create a character, you lend him your unique self. And then you let everything out. Action.
Don't be an idiot. I thought you were amazing. You really went somewhere.
The LA operation is going super great.
Hey, man. Yo, bro.
I found a true friend and partner in Cristobal. But Esther is throwing complete monkey wrench into my relationship. I'm not asking you to help me with this. I'm telling you.
I was very much looking forward to Barry coming back. I loved the first season. I loved how it added stakes episode per episode, and it just always sort of went somewhere that I didn't expect it to go, or just dug deeper. I would say I've watched the first episode of this. I thought it was funny, but it was almost like the letdown of that I feared. Like I didn't want it to come back because I thought the first season was so great, and this just feels like, oh, we're repeating ourselves a little bit, even though the cast is really funny and really great. What'd you think?
Yeah. I didn't see this episode, but the first season of Barry is so good, and I had those same fears. Like, does this need? Do we need another season? Is it gonna be as good? So now I'm disappointed that it's not.
It's still very fun,
good,
but
yeah.
It doesn't have this. But I also will say, the first episode of the first season of Barry, I was kind of like, okay, I get this. And then as it progressed, it grew on me more. So maybe the second season will do that as well. Ethan?
To be honest, I still have to catch up on season 1. I watched the pilot episode, and then
watch it.
No, that's the problem.
The only one
what the problem is
Barry?
that there's just too much.
Yeah.
Oh, don't give me excuses for that.
There's just a lot of TV. What am I supposed to do?
I want to pivot to a conversation about how there's too much TV just because you didn't watch one episode of Barry and I did.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Hot take. Too much
hot
TV.
take.
There's just too much TV.
Too much tuna.
If you have Veep and Barry, I think I was gonna go for Veep. In terms of watching the first.
So do you want to just move on to Veep?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like Barry though. I hope I'll watch it.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I don't want to just be like Barry sucks.
I like the
Barry's
season
good.
1. I feel like it's on my list of ones to catch
Barry's
up with all the
great.
way through. Yeah.
We'll end talking about Barry like this. Barry does not suck.
Okay, good.
Following Barry is the final season premiere of Veep, which in my opinion has been the best comedy we've had in a very, very, very long time. Let's take a look at the trailer.
This entire country is getting more disgusting by the second.
That's a demo we're targeting mostly on Facebook.
Catherine's been suffering from postpartum depression.
How can you tell?
Well, the haircut.
I was the game changer. I took a dump on the glass ceiling. And I shaved my muff in the sink of the old boys club.
Do you want me to read that back?
Oh, we can't use any of that. I mean, it sounds like I'm shouting from a balcony in Munich.
Like a Vita.
My favorite show. I love it so much. I don't laugh as hard at anything else as I do at Veep. That's really all that I have to say about it. Like, it's back for this season. She's campaigning again for president. They're just as incompetent as ever. They're just as mean as ever. Jonah is also campaigning for president, and he has married his stepsister. And that's become a big story. And yeah, that's really it. I mean, I'm 3 episodes in, and it's just as good as ever. It's a little bit broader than I think previous seasons, but that's like what one showrunner has done versus Armando Iannucci. But I love Veep. Yeah.
I laughed the entire first episode. I thought it was so. I mean, it's just Veep. Veep never fails to impress me every season. I'm drawn right in, and the ensemble in this is their comedy and them working together is always just so stellar. I think people are gonna love it. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah, if you like Veep, you will like this. Yeah.
I'm really happy. I think we had spoken off air about episode 3. There's an abortion storyline that they could have gone either way with, and I'm glad they go the way they choose. I don't know if we want to spoil it, but the way they play it out feels both very authentic to the world, and also I feel like a really great way to, if you're going to do that story, I think they did it right for the universe, but also just in general.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The second abortion storyline that we've gotten from TV or from shows in the past few weeks, there was the Shrill one in the first episode of Shrill as well. This show for me is like my happy place. Even though everyone is so angry and miserable and mean in it, I sit down and I can watch 10 episodes of this show on like a rainy Saturday afternoon. It just makes me so happy.
It's gonna be crazy that when it's off the air. I just feel like it's been on for so long and like it's so funny. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus has been such a part of our TV life for 20 years, right? From Seinfeld to this and New Adventures of Old Christine. So I'm very curious to see what she'll do next and like what kind of HBO does, because the other comedy, I mean, I guess they still have Silicon Valley, but they don't really have a show like Veep. And they don't have, like, even Barry, like we were saying, it's funny, but it's not like Veep funny, right?
It's
so it's
consistently hilarious.
Like, what are they gonna do? Like, what does the next Veep thing look like?
And they're losing Game of Thrones, their #1 drama. So, like, what the hell is HBO
I
gonna
also
do?
think we're in the midst that we're about to see like a massive shift in the television landscape, not just because of streamers moving in and all that shit, but because all that shit. Maybe I shouldn't be on TV.
You're on streaming right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can just
Your
sort of
career, Ricky.
but I think that we're gonna like Veep is a show that came out 7 years ago or 8 years ago actually, when TV still kind of mattered and people wanted to tune in for new seasons. I mean, look at Barry. The first season was great, but all of us are kind of like, I don't need a second season. I already got it because there's so many other things to watch. We're holding on to Game of Thrones. We're holding on to Veep. We're really only holding on to these shows this way because they premiered at a time when it was only them.
Premium channels.
Yeah.
Like, that's where we went for good content. Now that's not where we have to be anymore.
Like, is there a show that I mean, I guess Pen 15, a second season, I'm extremely excited about. But for the most part, after the first or second season of a show, I'm done at this point.
With limited series, too, I'm always like, what? Stop. Like, Big Little Lies is so good. Now I'm like, oh, my God, is this going to be terrible?
Right.
Or, like, Sharp Objects, great. Like, we don't need another season. I hope they don't do. And I don't
Are they
think
gonna do that?
I don't think they are.
They've talked about it.
They talked about it. It's like, stop.
If Big Little Lies can come back, then Sharp Objects can come back. No, I mean,
For a second season of Sharp Objects, all they need to do is point a camera out of a window at passing woods for 6 episodes.
John Mark Valet takedown. The one show, the one show that
hot take.
John Mark.
The show that sort of replaced that for me that I do want to see more of because I think they found a way, in the same way Veep has to raise the stakes every season, is Glow on Netflix. I think that show has done a really nice job finding different ways to, even after the first season sort of told a complete story, season 2 took it in ways I didn't expect, and season 3 they've already moved the setting, so that's going to be really interesting. I think that show sort of feels like an heir in some ways to what Veep was doing.
I'll say one thing that both Veep, because it came out started 7 years ago, and one thing that Glow does now, just because I think, is tell single stories in each episode while having an overarching narrative and being only 30 minutes. So many shows, including Barry, like feel very fearful of telling a singular story in one episode and feel like they have to have these overarching serialized narratives, which are kind of exhausting for television. That's what a movie is for.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Top picks of the week. Chris, what's your top pick?
My top pick would be Beach Bum.
Okay.
I loved it. I thought it's super fun, like we discussed. I think it has a lot going on. Matthew McConaughey is the best. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Okay. Leigh?
Dumbo, right? No. Veep all the way.
Dumbo if you are a masochist.
Yeah.
Like if
Dumbo if you're a Dumbo, you know what I'm saying?
What did you think? Can we go back 10 minutes into Dumbo? Did you know?
That it was horrible?
That it was just going to be a slog.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't campy. I remember 10 minutes sitting.
Back on Dumbo, I love it.
I was just shocked. Like I saw it like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, I know exactly what this is going to be, and it's not going to be fun, and it's not. It's just going to be like a series of images on the screen.
Dumbo? Like, it's not really for kids, right? Like, kids.
This is.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like, well, kids really like it. If we don't like, I mean, I don't like it. Kids aren't gonna like it. Because I'm
You're
here for
that
the
you're
kids.
a kid at
I'm here for
heart.
the
Yeah.
kids.
What are you saying here? Ethan, top pick.
Beach Bum. Go see it. See if you think my gender fluidity theory is correct. I think we can all agree it is. And then tweet at me and tweet at Ricky why.
No, if you agree.
I kind of agree with it, and I would love. I think that's a good take.
I'm gonna be a ref.
Love it
I'm
because
like,
he's saying it, and you have this like going.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, go
I
for it.
agree, but I don't know.
I've really enjoyed being the only woman on the stage today. Let me tell you, with this kind of conversation.
Yeah, a real bro fest with these three guys. Yeah. I think my top pick, I'm going to say Veep. I love Veep so much. I'm so happy it's back. I've watched the first 3 episodes, and I will use this platform to say, HBO, please send me more. I want to watch more.
Clearly,
Veep.
it's always me and you and these two. Let's,
Yeah.
you know.
That's how it goes.
I have embraced my feminine side, and this entire
that's
like
the message of Beach Bum.
This
That's the message.
episode of Weekend Watch has been about my gender fluidity, and I've started in one place and come to this place, and he's worried that I'm being offensive now. That is actually all we have. Let's thank Leigh, Chris, and Ethan for coming on, and give them a big round of applause, everybody. It's always great having them.
Great. I
you
felt
know,
so much love.
Also, this is our last Weekend Watch forever. So I would like to thank most of all the producer of Weekend Watch, Jonathan Tejada, who, you know, can we pull this photo up? Can we pull this? Can we see this photo right here? This is Jonathan, who, through all my apathy and hostile laziness, scraped this show together every week. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Let's give him another round of applause.
I feel a tear coming on. I really
Also, Jonathan, I would have liked to have full screened that image, but that's my mistake. And it would have been better if you produced it, to be honest with you. It would have been 100% better if you produced that image coming up. Okay, so that's it. We're done. I hope your time spent watching us over the last few months felt a little something like this. Bye.